Hello guys and gals, welcome back to another episode of IRL Creepypastas, our quest for real-life horrors and mysteries. This episode's very near and dear to me personally, since this would technically be the third time I'm discussing this topic in particular, and judging by the title of the video, it's none other than Project MKUltra, the top-secret project run by the United States Central Intelligence Agency. I talked a while back about the possible continued use of such a project in many of our favorite mediums today, namely video games, as it was used in the POLYBIUS creepypasta reference there, and I focused on it again, revisited it even. But before we return to that, it's better to discuss this project as a whole, as I intend to, so sit down and relax for this slightly beefy episode on Project MKUltra. Dating all the way back to the 1950s, the Central Intelligence Agency created Project MKUltra, also known as the Mind Control Program. It was run under the Special Operations Division and ran between 1953 and 1973, and participated in many illegal activities involving U.S. and Canadian individuals. These people were sent to use certain drugs such as LSD, sent to hypnosis and sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and on top of all that, numerous forms of torture were even used. This occurred at 80 institutions, as well as 44 colleges and universities around the world, and then God knows how many hospitals and companies were used as front organizations. But these places aren't entirely to blame. Only top personnel even knew about the MKUltra project and even its reasonings. And because of the creative accounting the CIA is well known for, nobody knew of these projects. Nobody knew what the funding was there for. No one knew anything. They were so well hidden and kept on a need-to-know basis, for obvious reasons, of course, that no one even questioned it, and no one even knew what the work was going towards. Even the Supreme Court noticed this, and I quote, as they would say, "concerned with the research and development of chemical, biological, and radiological materials capable of employment in clandestine operations to control human behavior." The program consisted of some 149 sub-projects, which the agency contracted out to various universities, research foundations, and similar institutions. At least 80 institutions and 185 private researchers participated. Because the agency funded MKUltra indirectly, many of the participating individuals were unaware that they were dealing with the agency. And so far, this project was kept entirely secret, and it's only completely declassified as a whole, right up to July 2001. Beginning with Operation Paperclip, the program recruited surviving Nazi scientists, prominent ones too, and created numerous projects called Chatter, Bluebird, and Artichoke. You created to study tips on mind control, interrogation, and behavioral modifications. The project ran under the title MKUltra using old CIA naming patterns, and the intent was to study the use of mind control drugs in the Soviets, and their response to the alleged use of drugs that the Chinese and the North Koreans even would use on American POWs. Some objectives in this project were so high, so up there, that they were intended to go so far as to even drug Cuban leader Fidel Castro. It was so well kept that even, again, academic researchers who were working on any kind of an experiment linked to this were unaware that they were doing a CIA op. In their own organization even. That itself was just a front. Even with all the knowledge that we gained so far, it's still nothing compared to what we could have gotten if the CIA hadn't massively destroyed parts of this project, the evidence related to it. Hell, such a crazy project even started up because of the CIA's paranoia that rose from the loss of the nuclear monopoly and the growing rise of communism at the time, or the fear at least. And though that, also a mole had infested the MKUltra program at a very high level. At the end of the day, the goals of the MKUltra program would be split in 17 overall goals. Number 1. Substances which will promote illogical thinking and impulsiveness to the point where the recipient would be discredited in public. Number 2. Substances which increase the efficiency of mentation and perception. Number 3. Materials which will cause the victim to age faster or slower in maturity. Number 4. Materials which will promote the intoxicating effect of alcohol. Number 5. Materials which will produce the signs and symptoms of recognized diseases in an irreversible way so that they may be used for malingering, etc. Number 6. Materials which will cause temporary permanent brain damage and loss of memory. Number 7. Substances which will enhance the ability of individuals to withstand privation, torture, and coercion through interrogation and so-called brainwashing. Number 8. Materials and physical methods which will produce amnesia for events preceding and during their use. Number 9. Physical methods for producing shock and confusion over extended periods of time and capable of surreptitious use. Number 10. Substances which produce physical disablement such as paralysis of the legs, acute anemia, etc. Number 11. Substances which will produce a chemical that can cause blisters. Number 12. Substances which alter personality structure in such a way that the tendency of the recipient to become dependent upon another person is enhanced. Number 13. A material which will cause mental confusion of such a type that the individual under its influence will find it difficult to maintain a fabrication under questioning. Number 14. Substances which will lower the ambition and general working efficiency of men when administered in undetectable amounts. Number 15. Substances which promote weakness or distortion of the eyesight or hearing faculties, preferably without permanent effects. Number 16. A knockout pill which will surreptitiously be administered in drinks, food, cigarettes, or as an aerosol, which will be safe to use, provide a maximum of amnesia, and be suitable for use by agent types or an ad hoc basis. Number 17. A material which can be surreptitiously administered by the above routes, and which in very small amounts will make it impossible for a person to perform physical activity. To attain these goals, numerous methods were used, costing up to around $90 million by today's standards on inflation. One very popular one was LSD, lysergic acid dithylamide. The technical services staff of the CIA knew this drug affects someone's sense of reality, so why not even alter loyalty as well? They wanted to see if spies can detect, and vice versa, if they can even defect to their governments or their loyalties. So they applied the drug to mental patients, drug addicts, even prostitutes, or anyone, as an officer so describes, could not fight back. It was also given to CIA employees, military personnel, and even to the general public just to study its effects. All of these were gross violations the government committed. Hell, even one operation called Midnight Climax had the CIA set up several brothels in San Francisco, California, and obtain a group of quiet men, too embarrassed to speak about what could happen, dosed with the drug and equipped with one-way mirrors and taped and viewed later. Kinda sounds like that mission in Manhunt 2, huh? Honest to God. LSD was also used in interrogation and at one point just given randomly to employees of the CIA, to the point that they could make a bad trip sign similar to like a wet floor sign. It was an occupational hazard. It's really messed up, but it worked, apparently, for them. It was finally given up around 1962 when more potent super hallucinogens were discovered, as well as benzolate. Other drugs were used as well, such as marijuana and sodium pentothal, and later on electronics were used to help send bioelectric signals to the brain, and then hypnosis was used. And even in Canada, the CIA recruited Donald Cameron, who hoped to cure schizophrenia by the erasing of memories. But throughout the whole process, the doctor was more into, again, the memory erasure side, and that's what the doctor was brought on forward to the MKULTRA project, rather than just the mind control and brainwashing aspect. Again, these were all split up into different tiers. But like many secrets, this slowly began to release out to the public, and the Church Committee looked into the CIA's activities, and even after a panic in the CIA, a lot of evidence still surfaced, and slowly but surely this whole thing surfaced as a whole again in 2001 when everything was declassified. Debts were uncovered, and legal issues manifested. So at the end of the day, this is what spawned Polybius. But more importantly, this project could still not be dead. I mean, look at the world we live in today. Unfortunately, we got a new Cold War, people. The US versus China. Both global superpowers, both involved in heavy conflicts globally. So without the use of drugs, why not use video games? The one product so popular among our youth, among us. The one that simulates almost life. Some games do it. Hell, look at games like Call of Duty. They glorify violence and warfare. People want to join the military because these people want to go in. It glorifies that lifestyle, making you want to be a hero. But also simulates the creation of tactics, albeit at a low level. To use games to spread propaganda and gain emotional control. Something used to affect someone's mind, even in a very tiny manner. I mean, movies were used, and so was music throughout time. It only makes sense that this is going to be the next thing. People can be impressionable, and using such an interactive medium makes great sense. I'm not saying Polybius is real at all, but the concept carries itself. Seriously, The next game you play could be mind control fuel, throwing messages into your head and changing the way you think. Slowly but maybe surely. It's something to think about. Look at the way some kids can act today after playing certain video games. They found a way to reach us. They found a way to bring their game onto the next level, no pun intended. Project MKUltra may be back. No need for LSD anymore when something so legal hits the fan, right? But then again, could all this be fake? I said I'd focus on the whole affair, and I did. But I also said that this could be the happening, in our world. This could be the future. Maybe it's the case and maybe it's not. But what do we know? What we do know is that MKUltra happened. And it was ghastly. But what we also have to know is that such a thing can easily happen again. And the scary part is, it's even easier for them to do. But don't freak out. I mean, if you like what you saw, then like, comment, and subscribe. This is